Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewired to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewired to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of Rewire to Inspire. I'm your host, Jessie Brown, and I am as always, so excited to be jumping on the mic with you all for episode number 64. Number 64, we are going to be piggybacking off of number 63, where we chatted all about why self-love is so important. And I truly just felt like at the end of recording my last episode, there was just so much more I wanted to share with you guys about self-love, because it's a subject that really is what inspired me to start my podcast in the first place. It is my driver each and every day. It is my message that I leave whenever I go on other shows. It is my mission in life, I feel, to just change our globe's narrative around self-love. And so I just felt pulled to come on here for episode number 64 and really share ways that self-love can just begin to elevate and better your life. Because we often think of self-love as just being like a direct thing of, oh, I'll have more self-confidence. But what does that increased level of self-confidence mean? How can your life begin to shift and become the best life possible with pouring in self-love? And so my goal today is to give you guys 5 ways that self-love is just going to help improve your life. Because after listening to my last episode, and if you haven't listened to it, I definitely encourage you to go tune into that episode after you're done listening to this one, so you can just begin to see what are the reasons of why you should do the work in the first place. Because you might be sitting there thinking, well, what's the point? What's the point of putting in the work? And so that's really why I wanted to create a second episode piggybacking off of Tuesday's episode, because I recognize that in order to take the action sometimes, and in order to put in the work sometimes, it's beneficial to know why we should do it. What are the reasons why I should want to do this work? And so that is what we're going to be chatting about today. So without further ado, let's jump into 5 ways self-love will begin to improve your life. So the first point that I have for you guys is that self-love will help to reduce stress. And so we often hear that self-care is just taking a bath, drinking a glass of wine, reading a book. We just hear these very surface level things. But self-love to me means internal belief in yourself, internal belief that you are worthy, internal belief that you can do anything you set your mind to, internal belief that you're worthy to accomplish anything you desire, and just feeling your emotions, knowing it's okay to feel sad, it's okay to feel happy, it's okay to feel angry, but always coming back to that means in some way, shape, or form that you're validating yourself, giving your body what you need, and that is indeed, from my perspective, what I believe self-love is. And so, again, self-care isn't just about those surface level things. Self-care means that you're doing the things unique to you that fill your cup and that raise your vibe and elevate you as a person. And self-love allows you to recognize burnout and signs of burnout and know that you're worthy to take time for yourself. And so really what I want to dive into with this point is that it helps reduce stress. Is every time that I get dressed to go out somewhere, like if I'm going to a dinner or to an event or to whatever, I pretty much already know in the back of my mind it's going to be chaos, because I've just formed a negative association with getting ready and negative self-talk, because I always think, I don't look good enough. What I'm wearing stupid. What will people think? Oh, my hair didn't turn out the way I wanted. My makeup looks dumb. That outfit's too small. That outfit doesn't look right. That doesn't go together. And I just know that it's going to be chaotic. And so as I've started to just pour self-love into myself and recognize that those things are just catastrophizing thoughts, it's allowed me to lower my stress. Because when we care so much about minuscule things, we will just become so hyper-focused on the negative and so hyper-focused on things that don't matter that we'll stress ourselves out so much more than we have to. And I think that this also narrows down to perfectionism. We think that things, and I'm bad for this, I think things have to be perfect in order for them to be successful. But I'm realizing over time that flaws in things are actually just ways that we can grow. And the reason that I put this point on here, that self-love reduces stress, is because I think that it comes from that piece of validation. Because when we have that piece of validation of knowing that we're perfect being imperfect, we lower the standard for ourselves a little bit to the way that we're able to just take a deep breath and actually show up better. Because if we're too hyper-focused on perfectionism and having everything perfect, we're really not allowing ourselves to enjoy the process and have fun with it. Even with my podcast, like in the beginning, I was just so hyper-focused on everything being absolutely perfect. And of course, yes, my standards are high for my level of content and my audio and my lighting and things like that. However, I'm learning to just show up organically as myself. Instead of just perfecting things, how can I just show up and pour from my heart? Obviously, behind the scenes, there is lots of things that go on of preparing for what I'm going to talk about and etc. But it's lowered my level of stress coming on here because I don't have such a high bar set for myself, because that takes away the fun of doing stuff. And so that is my first point, is that self-love helps to reduce stress because it allows us to just see the worth of just doing something with all our capability without seeing all the things that we're not doing and all of the flaws. It allows us to begin to give ourselves credit for showing up and trying our best instead of getting hard on ourselves for not being good enough. And so that is one reason why I really wanted to begin my self-love journey, is because I was spending so much time feeling stressed out about being too overweight, being too underweight, not having this, not having that, having too much of this, having too much of that, to the point that I wasn't enjoying life. And when we're able to find that sweet spot in the middle, and again, we will teeter-totter on both sides. We will always have too far extreme, too low of extreme, but it's how we can drive to the middle. And I think that in that middle is where we're able to lower our stress. So that is my first point for you guys, is to recognize the areas that you're super stressed out is because you're not giving yourself enough credit. Are you spending too much time trying to be the perfect partner, the perfect mom, the perfect employee, the perfect business owner, that you're getting yourself so stressed out of not seeing all the amazing things that you are doing? And this does come down to self-love because it's self-validation for all your hard work. So that is my first point for you guys. My second point is one that I absolutely love, and that's that self-love can help you to develop healthier, better, more aligned habits. And so data shows that loving yourself can help you to make more, better, healthier decisions. When we accept ourselves, we're often able to make better decisions even when it's hard. So for example, food, exercise, smoking, drinking, whatever. Because self-compassion helps people form new, healthier habits. Because if you don't think you're worthy, you won't take action. And I think that rings so true, where if we don't have the belief that we're worthy of more, or that we're worthy of certain things, we won't take action. And we almost form like self-pity parties where we begin to just sit on the couch and watch Netflix and eat junk food because we don't think we're worthy to go work out. We don't think we're worthy to look good. And so, of course, our habits are going to be a reflection of that. But so I think that self-love can help us form new habits because we know that we're worthy of more than that. We know that we're worthy of nourishing and taking care of ourselves, hygiene, looking good, showing up, getting ready, being the best version of yourself, smiling, being a positive light to be around. And this is one that I think affected me for a long time, to the point that I was just okay with not doing things because I didn't think that I was worthy of them. And if we don't think we're worthy of good things, it's not likely that we're going to take action to make a shift in our life. And so that's one that I really wanted to drive home, is if we don't have any positive association with a behavior or the belief that it can actually make a positive change, we're likely not going to take action. And I see this all the time with food and fitness. We don't think we're worthy or capable or have the ability to be successful in that arena. So therefore we don't take action. And without taking action, we're not able to form new habits. And without new habits, we're not consistent. And we're not consistent, we won't get momentum. Without momentum, we won't see results. And without results, we're stuck in the same spot. And I think that happens to us a lot. And we begin to form identities around ourselves, around certain things. And so our habits will follow our identity. As I've mentioned before, if you have the identity that I am an athlete, you will show up like an athlete. You will ask yourself, is this a food an athlete would eat? Is this an action an athlete would do? What would an athlete do right now? When we form an identity around something, our habits will begin to follow. But again, if we don't think we're worthy of said thing, it's not likely that we'll form an identity around it. And so therefore we won't create new habits to prove that to be true to ourselves. So that is my second way that self-love can really begin to improve your life, is because as you form a better relationship with yourself and know that you're worthy and know that you're deserving, you will begin to take action and create new, healthier habits for your life. And so this is one that I've been trying to incorporate more into my life, of incorporating 30 minutes of fitness into my day every single day without missing. That is not only going to raise my self-worth because I'm making a promise and upholding it to myself, but I'm also establishing better, healthier habits that are only going to positively influence me. There's never been a time that I've done my 30 minutes of exercise and regretted it, because it benefits my brain health, it benefits my body, it benefits my sleep, it benefits just everything across the board. And so that is one that I want you guys to remember, is self-love is important because it'll cause you and allow you to take action to do the things that will actually deepen and develop your sense of self-love even further. My third way that self-love will improve your life is that self-love improves your emotional resiliency. And so what I mean by that is, we hear all the time that you're the one in control of yourself, which is 100% true. However, that unfortunately doesn't stop other people's behaviors from still influencing us, and it doesn't, we're still affected by other people's words and actions, even though we only have control of ourselves. And so the thing about self-love and having deep belief in yourself is that you're able to counter critique any negativity thrown your way or any negative self-talk thrown your way. And so what I mean by this is, right now, for example, I know I'm a podcaster. I know I want to be a podcaster to infinity. At this point, I can never see a day in which I'm not jumping on the microphone. And so if anyone were to say to me, podcasting is stupid, it really wouldn't affect me or hurt my feelings, because I have so much self-love and self-belief in podcasting, and that I know that it's an alignment for me, and that I know that I love it. And so I would be able to just kind of ignore that and brush it off and know that that's just someone's opinion. And so what I mean by this point is, self-love improves our emotional resiliency, because when we have belief about something about ourselves and we know that it's true, it becomes a lot harder for other people to take that away or to jeopardize that. Whereas, for example, if you haven't been showing up to the gym and you've been feeling kind of crummy about your weight, and somebody says something about your weight, you're likely going to take that directly to the heart and directly into your feelings, and rightfully so, because you almost know to a point that it's true. But if you know yourself and you know that you're putting in the work and you know your belief around things, it becomes a lot harder for other people's opinions and just negative associations to affect us. And so this one takes time for sure. Like, this one really takes hard work, belief of asking yourself, is this person actually accurate, or is this a reflection of their own belief about something? Are they portraying their own self-frustration onto me? And do I have the ability to recognize that? Because the thing is as we grow and evolve and level up and get better, people will begin to say things. Because unfortunately, positive vibes and negative vibes really clash. And negative vibes will try to bring down positive ones with all their might. Like, everything within them will try to tear you down. And so that's why it's so important that we establish a foundation. Because if we don't have a foundation, it's really, really hard. If you think of a house, if it doesn't have a foundation, it just has the top, it would be really easy for that to just get destructed and blown over because it doesn't have the base there to hold it down. And I think also with self-love, you're also able to just kind of see that when people say negative things or do hurtful things, it's often a reflection of something internally going on within them. And I think this is something I've learned deeply through my mental health journey and through being a social worker and working one-on-one with clients, is that hurt people. And I think that that's so true, because if we have inner demons and we have a low vibe and we have these inner critiques going on, it's really easy to lash that out onto other people. But if we know our worth and we know ourselves and we know our truth, it becomes a lot easier to just kind of brush that off and again, build that emotional resiliency, because we're able to say, I hear what you're saying. However, I don't think that that's necessarily true for me. Thank you for your perspective. I really appreciate your feedback. And I think that if we're in a hurt place, we might take that to heart. We might stop what we're doing. If I didn't believe in my podcasting ability and someone said, your podcast sucks, I might take that to heart and never podcast again. But because I have the belief that each episode I'm improving, each week I'm getting better, over time it's just going to go up, I know that somebody saying that isn't true because I know my worth. And also, whenever somebody says something, I always want you to ask yourself, would you trade places with this person? Because if you wouldn't trade places with this person, you really shouldn't be accepting feedback from them. Because if somebody was telling me something about podcasting and they're not actually a podcaster, who are they to really give me that feedback? The same as I would never give somebody feedback in the realm of something that I know nothing about, because it's not my place to do so. But the thing is, the reason I started this point is we have control of ourselves and our ability, and we have the ability to improve and level up our self-worth. And with that and with self-love means that we're able to have more emotional resiliency and also just able to have more empathy for other people that might be hurting and lashing out at us. And just finally, in closing that point, I also think that self-love encourages you to learn from your mistakes and move forward instead of allowing them to pull you backwards. I can remember times in my life that I would get so hard on myself if I messed up something. Instead of just viewing it as a learning opportunity, I viewed it as a failure, and not a failure of like, I learned this great thing and I'm going to persevere with that. It was, I just messed that up and I'm a failure and I'm so stupid and blah, blah, blah. And so it also comes from internal conflict of when you do mess up, you're able to say, I'm trying my best, I'm going to grow from this. But if we don't have any level of self-love or self-belief or self-worth, we likely won't be able to do that, and therefore reiterating to ourselves and getting ourselves stuck even more. And so I do just want to note that that does take time. That takes catching the thoughts that you're telling yourself. That takes catching yourself before you respond to somebody says something. Asking yourself, am I responding out of ego or out of my heart? Do I truly mean what I'm about to say to myself and to said person? And so really just know that that one takes time, and it's about catching the thoughts that you're telling yourself and bringing awareness to them. My fourth point is one that has resonated so deeply with my life recently, and that's that self-love will help to improve your relationships across the board. Because when you love yourself, you begin to feel less dependent on other people's validation and just need to be there to lift you up. Because if you're able to pour into yourself first and you're able to give yourself everything you need, you're going to become less dependent on other people, which is a beautiful thing. Because yes, we will always need other people. We will need community. We will need love. We will need validation. That is hardwired within us. But I think oftentimes we become so depending on our intimate partner, depending on our friends, depending on our family to lift us up, that when we're not getting that, we feel like crap. And so when we're able to pour into ourselves, we're becoming less dependent on other people, therefore improving our relationships, because we're able to have that capacity to not just be so worried about that validation piece. And so I just want to share a story with you guys of last year when I decided to move home from Alberta. I had gotten out of a 3-year relationship. I moved back in with my parents for a little while in Alberta before I decided to relocate back to New Brunswick. And during that couple months of being alone, it was really my first time in my life, like sincerely being by myself, like not living with anyone, not being with a partner, just being by myself. And for a while, it was honestly a huge roller coaster ride of up and down emotions because I had never taken the time to genuinely pour into myself from my perspective. And a little bit before that, when I had come home to visit New Brunswick for a month, and this is when isolation was still in place, I had spent 2 weeks completely by myself, isolated, not seeing another human being. And that was honestly, those 2 weeks were quite honestly life-changing because I got to form relationship with myself of being alone, what I need, giving it to myself instead of reaching out to other people and getting that validation. For the first time in my life, I was giving it to myself. I was checking in with myself. I was eating the foods that I knew that I loved. I was holding myself accountable to do yoga and to do little workouts and just taking time to get to know myself. And that's something that I think a lot of us don't do because taking time to get to know yourself can be really overwhelming and really icky. And for the first couple months when I moved back to my hometown living by myself, it was really, really hard to the point that I was honestly in an active autopilot state because it was just so overwhelming for my system to feel so many emotions all at once. But as I rode that wave and just day by day gave myself that validation, I did a lot of butterfly tapping, which is basically crossing your arms over your chest and tapping your hands back and forth. I was doing a lot of self-soothing techniques. I was calming myself down. I was reiterating to my mind that I am worthy, telling myself kind things, and just pouring that love into myself for the first time in my life. And it was honestly life-changing, and I truly think is why I began my podcast, because I was able to see for the first time that like, oh, there is another way to live. There is a way to tell yourself kind things. Like, that does exist. It's not just something that these counselors talk about. And so it was the first time that I was really able to witness that. And I think that through that process, I've attracted my dream partner, and just our relationship is so much different than any relationship I ever had in the past. And I think that's because in the past I was attracting really low vibe frequency relationships, and that's no disservice to them because they all taught me something, and at that time that is exactly what I needed. But now I'm moving forward of knowing my worth and where I'm at. I think that because I took the time to find self-love and to pour into myself, I'm now able to pour that into my relationships. I'm less dependent on other people. In fact, I actually became too over-dependent. Again, it's that teeter-totter. I overdrove and was too independent. And so now I'm learning that it is okay and safe to reach out to other people. And so knowing that it's like a constant just back and forth of checking in with yourself. But self-love means also that you're able to know your boundaries and you're therefore better at upholding them. You're able to speak your truth. You're able to speak how you're feeling. Me and my partner just have this unwritten rule that if we're feeling a certain type of way, we've just laid out the foundation that we're able to say that. We're such an open book. If something is irritating us, we just sit down and we talk about it and we say what's bothering us. In the past, that wasn't safe to do so because I just had so much internal confusion and belief that that meant that I was a bad partner, or that meant we were going to break up, and there was just so much uncertainty. And so just know that any relationship, whether it's a personal relationship, if it's an intimate relationship, if it's with your family, that relationship is only going to succeed as far as your level of self-love with yourself, because we cannot depend on other people to bring us happiness. We cannot pour from an empty cup. And so self-love allows you to just optimize your relationships because you already, again, have that foundation and that love within yourself that you're therefore able to ricochet out, are able to speak your truth, and are just able to show up as the best version of yourself. So that is my fourth point, is that self-love across the board will improve your relationships because you'll also begin to attract the relationships that are in alignment for you, friendships that are in alignment for you, friendships that make you feel good, that lift you up, that make you the best version of yourself. So if you're feeling like your relationships making you feel icky, or they make you feel like you're not yourself, it might be time to begin to focus on yourself and then reevaluate if you still think those relationships are in alignment, because it might just be a sign that you've grown, you've leveled up, and it's time to just change your circle to find more folks that are more in alignment with you, that are therefore able to also improve your relationship of self-love. My fifth and final point is that self-love will help you to achieve your goals. And so self-love teaches us that you deserve your dreams and that you're worthy of them and that they're a priority, because it isn't selfish to go after what you want in life. Because self-love helps you to enhance your level of confidence, to set boundaries, to be productive, and to put yourself first. As I chatted about in my last episode, putting yourself first is not selfish, it is crucial. And the reason that I put this one on here is because I would not be 64 weeks now into my episodes into my podcast, a year into this journey consistently for 8 months. I would not be able to uphold 4 jobs. I would not be able to chase my dreams and have massive goals if I did not have belief in myself. Because A, if I didn't have belief, I wouldn't go after it. But B, if I didn't have self-love, I wouldn't be able to put boundaries in place. And so a good example of boundaries is even this weekend, I always record my episodes on Friday evenings and or Saturday mornings. And if I wasn't able to communicate that to my family and friends, let's say there's an event going on and they ask me to go, and I just say yes, just because I feel bad and I want to keep everybody happy. Whenever I would get home from said event, I would feel like crap because I knew I didn't do the things I said I was going to do. I knew I didn't uphold those promises to myself. And so my own goals are taking a hit. And so when you have self-belief and self-love, you know your boundaries and you know the things that you have to do to optimize your life. And I think that boundaries are pretty much impossible if we don't have the belief that we're worthy of them. Because if I didn't have the belief that I was worthy to go after my goals and that that's what's most in alignment for me, because the thing is with this one is that not everybody's going to understand or get it. And I've had family members and friends upset with me that I've had to say no to things. But in retrospect, if they actually understood where I was coming from, of knowing it's not a disservice to anybody else to pour into myself. I just know that I'm going to feel really, really crummy if I don't hold myself accountable. And I think that we do that so often. We just want to keep the peace with people. So we'll jeopardize our own self-being and love to keep everybody else happy. But when we do that, we're really only jeopardizing ourselves. And the only way to live optimally and to have the best relationships and to go for our goals and to achieve our dreams is to recognize the things that we're needing and to make sure we're putting them into place. Because other people will not put boundaries in place for you. You have to be willing to put them in place for yourself, even though it can be really, really hard and really uncomfortable. So that is my fifth and final point for you guys, is that self-love will help you to achieve your goals because you'll just know that you're worthy of them. You're able to communicate that better, of just knowing your worth and of saying, I hear you and I really wish I could go to that thing. However, this is what's most in alignment. And I've also stopped saying the word, I'm sorry, I can't. I've kind of stopped apologizing, because why are we apologizing for the things that are best for us? I just find that such like a tricky spot, because we're such people pleasers, especially women, I find, and that we just want to keep the peace, that we end up apologizing for the things that we want to do, which is really backwards. And so I encourage you to validate the other person in that instance of just saying, thank you so much for thinking of me and wanting to do said thing. Unfortunately, that's not really in alignment for me right now. Is there any way that we can circle back to this at a later time, or whatever it is that feels fit for you? But I also just wanted to throw that in, that every time we say sorry for doing something that's best for us, we're actually going against self-love, because we're almost saying sorry and excusing ourselves for doing it. It almost makes it seem like we're not worthy to take that time for ourselves. So I just want you guys to remember that, of knowing you are worthy, and those that truly understand and support you will understand. And it's just as simple as that. And if they don't, that's a big indicator and a big red flag that they might not be in alignment for your life. So I truly, truly hope you guys enjoyed this week's content all about self-love. This is a subject that I could talk about honestly forever, and I will definitely have more podcasts coming out in the future about self-love in a different aspect. But just know that you're worthy of it. You're worthy of self-love. You're worthy of pouring time into yourself. You're worthy of boundaries, worthy of optimizing your relationships, worthy of going after your goals. But it starts with you, my friend. It starts with you putting in boundaries, putting your foot down, doing the work, and knowing that you're capable, but that it starts with you. All the love, you guys, from my heart to yours. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you would like to connect, I am on Instagram at JessieBrown13. I absolutely love connecting with you guys. Feel free to send me a message and we can just have a conversation. Let's talk about self-love. Talk about anything that was aligned for you. I look forward to that. I look forward to next week and chatting with you guys all then. All the love, you guys. Goodbye. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at JessieBrown13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.